We are Legally Sis. Welcome to our podcast.
The information provided in the show is for general informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. No attorney-client relationship is created between you and Duran and Duran-Schulze law.
Hi, this is Legally Sis. As you know, we have been on a 1-month break, so we are happy to be back. In this season, we will be looking at having more guests so that we will be having insights as to all sorts of different types of laws that our viewers may be interested in. For today's episode, we will be discussing about business and what you think you should be asking your lawyer in setting up a business. So I'm happy to introduce to you Attorney Rhonaliza Burce, hyphen Rhonaliza or Attorney Rhons. Attorney Rhons, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Atty. Rhons. I'm a junior partner in Duran-Schulze Law. I've been part of their firm for 6 years already. And
Why there?
sorry, I've been part of our firm for 6 years already. So I'm assigned with corporate tasks, dealing with corporate clients. I do due diligence, contract reviews, assistance as to labor issues, also government compliance, and business registration of those individuals or entities who wish to form or register their business here in the Philippines.
Yes.
And that's our topic for today. That's why I'm here.
Attorney Rhons has been instrumental in helping our clients at the law firm Duran and Duran-Schulze Law in setting up their businesses. Hundreds of clients who have set up their businesses. So she has seen a lot of issues, and she can also help us along the way on how to troubleshoot these common issues that we have faced for in behalf of our clients. Attorney Rhons, is it really necessary for business owners to start or to register their business in the Philippines?
Yes, definitely. Business registration is necessary. It's important. It's actually the process of incorporating or registering your business here. And it's important because once you are registered or once your business is registered, it makes your entity a legitimate entity before the eyes of the law. And it gives a sense of credibility before your potential clients or customers. And it also allows you to make transactions, legitimate transactions. In this way, you can be able to issue receipts. And in case there are accreditations or you deal with third-party entities, you have documents to show to your clients or customers, like your business registration documents.
Yeah. It is very hard nowadays to do business if you are not registered.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who just sell using their cell phone, sell via Facebook, but it's difficult to gain confidence from your potential clients if you yourself are not registered to do business in the country. So, Attorney Rhons, where do we start when one wants to incorporate a business?
Okay. There are several questions you have to ask. First, you have to look for a good service provider that can assist you. It may sound or look easy once you read, when you do research in Google, but trust me, it's not. It gets complicated once you get the whole picture. So first, look for a good service provider. You can consult a lawyer for this one. And once you have found a good service provider, you can ask these questions such as, what is the best type of company you can form depending on your preference and your requirements? Is there any restrictions depending on the nature of business you have to form also? Is there a minimum capitalization required? Do I really need to have partners or other investors with me, or can I form a company with just solely being me as the owner? Also, is it necessary to have a physical office address depending on the nature of business I'm going to form? Or will a virtual office be enough for a startup company? Aside from that, you may also want to consult directly about taxes and other liabilities of the formation. So there are several questions to be asked, and these are basic. And actually, after you have formed your business, definitely the questions never stop because once your business is ongoing, there will be lots of issues you will be facing aside from registration.
Okay, that's a lot of questions to ask. And preferably you ask a lawyer so that you can have all of these properly spelled out to you and explained to you. So let's break down these questions that you have mentioned. So for the first one, what type of business structure should you be engaged in? Should you be forming?
Okay. For the types of business, it actually depends on what you prefer. You have to ask yourself, do I want to be a single owner or the only person who has authority over this business? If that's the case, you can either form a sole proprietorship, or if it's a corporation, you can be a one-person corporation. There's a difference between that. We can break it down a little. Another form or type is a corporation. And for this one, you can either be a domestic corporation or a foreign corporation. For a foreign corporation, you may either be a representative office or a branch office. And there are actually also others like ROHQ, RHQ. But for information purposes, a branch office and a representative office, this is a mere extension of a foreign entity that is registered outside the Philippines. And you just bring this foreign entity here in the Philippines to apply for a license to do business. The main similarity is that you have to have a resident agent for this type of foreign corporation. As the difference in terms of capitalization for a representative office, you need at least 30,000 USD as initial inward remittance. Whereas for a branch office, this will depend if majority of your income, or if you want to do your business domestically, meaning majority of your sales will be coming within the Philippines, since you will be 100% foreign-owned corp, you need at least 200 USD as paid-up capital. But if you will be export market enterprise, meaning majority of your sales will be outside the Philippines, you don't need that 200,000 USD capitalization. It can be as low as 1 million, or depending on what figure you have in mind, depending on the operational expenses of the company. So that's the foreign corporation. Going back to what I have said earlier, it can also be a domestic company, meaning you are registered, duly registered and licensed, or you are incorporated under the laws of the Philippines. For this one, there are various types. There's what we have, I have mentioned, the one-person corporation, and we also have a regular stock corporation. For the one-person corporation, under the name itself, one person, meaning you only have a single stockholder as the owner, or it could also be an estate or a trust. And then a regular stock corporation, meaning you have stocks or shares to be subscribed by investors. And you can also be a non-stock corporation, meaning that there are no shares, but you only have capital to be paid as contributions for the registration of your business. So there's a lot. We can break it down more.
For the benefit of our viewers, you mentioned about foreign corporation, and you said that it's a license to do business. So essentially, what's the difference between license to do business from an Articles of Incorporation?
Okay, a license to do business, you just bring here whatever registration you have incorporated outside the Philippines under the laws of that country where you came from. And you apply in order for you to do legitimate transactions here. Whereas Articles of Incorporation, the charter or document is registered here under the laws of the Philippines, specifically under the SEC. And you need that in order to fully form or create a foreign domestic company.
So it essentially assumes that you have already been
Registered, yes.
outside of the country. You mentioned on stock and non-stock. So there is an option for other companies, if they're really not for profit, they can do business as a
Non-stock corporation.
So that would mean, in terms of capital, what would be the effect on as to ownership?
As to ownership, it depends on the capital you have contributed, but definitely since there's no profit, you get
membership.
You get membership only. There's nothing to get versus a stock corporation we're in. Depending on how much you have subscribed and pay, the percentage from that, you get that portion cost.
Yes. So essentially, if we are a corporation established to do business in the Philippines, you, unless you're an OPC or one-person corporation, you have investors with you. How is that different from a sole proprietor?
Okay. And one-person corporation is registered under the SEC, whereas a sole proprietorship is registered under the DTI. As to difference, well, probably in terms of taxes, as to liabilities. If you're a sole proprietor, it will be the same tax as an individual taxpayer, whereas for an OPC, since the corporation, it's around 20 to 25% there.
So how about liabilities?
As to liabilities, since an OPC is a corporation, there's what we call the corporate veil fiction, wherein the corporation is treated as a separate entity, so it is protected, whereas a sole proprietor, personal liability will attach. So, if ever the OPC faces any, for example, labor issues, and they have to pay a certain amount of money, the only, whatever contribution you have paid, those going after you cannot touch on your personal assets, whereas if you're sole proprietorship, you yourself as an individual will be solely liable as to up to the last cent of whatever you have.
Yes, that is a huge difference between a sole proprietor and a corporation. While it's easier and faster to create a sole proprietor, it can be very, very difficult and painful for you if you have humongous liabilities
Yes.
that you are not prepared to pay for. You know, your all life savings, your car, your house, even your spouse's properties that are attached to you or you have invested on will be used to pay for the third party liabilities because unfortunately your business was not working out well.
Yes. That is why when clients consult with us, we usually suggest or we flex that they form a corporation versus a sole proprietorship. But of course, at the end of the day, it will be up to that individual. If they want more, for convenience purposes, yes, it's easy to establish a sole proprietor because in a corporation, there are a lot of compliances and paperwork you also have to deal with.
Yes, definitely. But we also tell them you have to think long term,
Long term, yes.
especially if you'd want to have business partners. You can't have business partners under a sole
Sole proprietor.
because you can't sell shares out of a sole proprietor. How about capital?
Okay. For capital, that's a very, very big question or topic to explore because number one, you have to consider the nature of your business. There are certain industries here in the Philippines wherein there's a minimum paid up capital. For example, for recruitment, I think you need 1 million pesos as a minimum paid up capital. Whereas for Dollar 174, I think that's around 5 million. Also for retail, you need 25 million pesos.
If you are doing business
As a foreign corporation. But there are industries that do not require capital. So you can form a business or a corporation for as low as, before it was 5,000 pesos under the old corporation code. But now they're not very strict. But our suggestion is that your capital be realistic. Because when the SEC evaluates your application and they see you're going to form, for example, a BPO, but your capital is just 100,000 or let's say 10,000 pesos, it's not really realistic because you have to also consider your other operational expenses. So as much as possible, make it one that is realistic to whatever the nature of business you will create or form.
Yeah, sometimes you've even encountered the city hall not believing
Yes.
that you have placed in the form because of course the taxes that they would want to assess will start or begin from the capital that you have.
Yes. So for this one, when the client approaches us, we suggest that they make a projection at least 3 to 4 years of their listed expenses. In that way, they have more room for growth in case they need bigger capital to manage or to sustain their business.
Yeah, and the growth can be in the form of, you know, the number of people you're expected to have, or even the expenses that you're looking at, or even branch office. Aside from the head office you will be establishing, that there are a lot of expenses correlated to that. And if you're limited with a 10,000 peso capital, I mean, it would require a lot of amendments.
Yes.
Mr. Oz.
Yes. If initially you have declared a low capital like 10,000 pesos and then down the line you would need, let's say, 1 million. As a corporation, you have to go back to the SEC and amend your Articles of Incorporation in order for you just to have additional capital. That's why we always tell our clients to make it a little bit more, to expand it because even if amendment is possible, it's actually a tedious process. It's another paperwork and additional fees for you. And then you have to go back not just to the SEC. You also have to go back to other government offices in case there are additional compliances also.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Rhons. We've learned a lot today. In the next session, we will be discussing more on how you are going to be forming your business. So stay tuned. Bye.
Bye!